I'm a political scientist, and I actually remember the day I discovered that politics existed. There was a provincial election going on in my province, and I saw all the signs on the streets, and I went home and asked my dad, why are all the signs out? And he actually sat down and taught me what politics and elections was all about that day. I would have been in grade 5. So that was kind of my first foray into politics, and I was very interested in politics. Growing up, I actually thought I wanted to be a teacher, so I thought I wanted to teach math and history and French. So I started undergrad in a teaching program. I took one education class and was like, no, this is not for me. I took one poli-sci class and was like, yes, this is it. This is what I want to do. So after that point, there was never really a question that I would go to grad school. And there was very little question that I would go continue on and do a PhD. And so I was very fortunate to do my PhD at McGill University in political science. I studied electoral administration and electoral integrity. And so that essentially means the nuts and bolts of running an election. So all of the small activities that go into running an election. The reason I was interested in that is because I'd seen elections being run, and I was really curious to know about the people behind the scenes who were doing that. So that's kind of how I got into the poli-sci area, and I suppose you guys are more interested in knowing specifically how I got into the cybersecurity thing. So essentially, I hadn't really thought too much about the cybersecurity issue in terms of electoral integrity until most of the world started thinking about it in the 2016 American election, when cybersecurity all of a sudden was a huge issue that we hadn't thought much about yet. And people were focusing on issues of disinformation, misinformation, breaches of security of voter data, especially in the United States. And so it was around that time, shortly after that I was started at RMC, the Royal Military College, and I really wanted to find some sort of way to bridge my research interest in elections and electoral integrity with some of the key strategic areas that RMC and that the Department of National Defense were interested in. Not because there was any sort of pressure to do that, but I thought it made sense if I'm going to be at RMC that I find some way to bridge those two areas together. And so the cybersecurity of elections was an obvious area that needed work being done. People were starting to talk about it, but we realized we had very little empirical research on what works. How can we actually strengthen and secure elections? So that's how I got into that area of research.